Alex and Miranda Stevens have been planning their 4th of July camping trip to the Adirondack Mountains for months. The couple from Albany, New York, wanted to escape the crowds and fireworks displays for a quiet weekend in nature, celebrating their 3rd anniversary away from the chaos of city life. "This is exactly what we needed," Miranda said as they set up their tent at the remote Pine Creek campsite on July 3, 2013. The 29-year-old graphic designer had been stressed from work deadlines and was looking forward to 3 days of hiking, fishing, and disconnecting from technology. Alex, a 31-year-old software engineer, was already studying topographical maps of the area. "Tomorrow we can hike to Eagles Peak for sunrise, then spend the afternoon at the lake. Perfect way to spend Independence Day." Pine Creek was an off-the-grid campsite accessible only by a rough dirt road that wound through dense forest for 12 miles. The nearest cell tower was 20 miles away, and the closest ranger station was even farther. It was exactly the isolation they had been seeking. Their campsite was beautiful, a small clearing beside a rushing creek, surrounded by towering pines and maples. Alex set up their camp chairs near the fire ring while Miranda organized their food supplies in the bear-proof container provided by the Park Service. That evening, they sat by their campfire roasting marshmallows and watching stars emerge in the clear mountain sky. According to the camp log they signed, they were the only campers in the area that weekend, which made their eventual disappearance even more mysterious. "Look," Miranda pointed to a shooting star just after midnight. "Make a wish." Those were the last words anyone would ever hear Miranda Stevens speak. When Alex and Miranda failed to return to work on Tuesday, July 8th, their employers initially assumed they had extended their holiday weekend. But when they missed important meetings on Wednesday and didn't respond to calls or emails, Miranda's sister Jennifer drove to their Albany apartment and found it empty, with mail piling up and their cats unfed. Jennifer immediately contacted the New York State Police, who tracked the couple's last known location to the Pine Creek campsite. When rangers arrived on July 10th, they found the Stevens camp exactly as they left it. Tent still standing, food container properly sealed, and their Honda CR-V parked at the trailhead. It looked like they had stepped away for a short hike and planned to return, Ranger Patricia Holmes told Detective Mike Sullivan of the state police. Their personal belongings were all there: wallets, medications, extra clothes. Even their hiking boots were by the tent entrance. The search for Alex and Miranda Stevens became one of the largest in Adirondack Park history. Over 150 volunteers joined park rangers, state police, and search and rescue teams in combing through 40 square miles of wilderness. Search dogs picked up scent trails that led in multiple directions before disappearing at rocky outcroppings. "The terrain here is challenging," explained search coordinator Captain James Wright. "Dense forest, steep ravines, numerous water features. It's easy for even experienced hikers to become disoriented, especially if they left camp without proper equipment." But Alex and Miranda were experienced outdoors enthusiasts who had been camping together for 5 years. They always carried emergency supplies, knew how to signal for help, and had told multiple people about their planned route and return date. The case gained national media attention when it was featured on CNN and missing persons websites. The couple's families offered a $50,000 reward for information leading to their discovery. Psychics contacted police with visions, and conspiracy theorists suggested everything from alien abduction to government cover-ups. After 3 months of searching, the case was classified as a missing persons investigation with suspected death by misadventure. The Stevens family held a memorial service, though they never stopped hoping their loved ones would somehow be found alive. Still watching? Then you know this isn't just another missing persons case. Something deeper happened in those woods, something no one could explain for a decade. If you're the kind of person who needs to know what really happened, like this video, subscribe to Gone Cold and turn on the bell, because cold cases like this don't stay cold forever. Wildlife photographer David Chun had been using aerial drones to document climate change effects in the Adirondacks for his doctoral research at SUNY Environmental Science. On a crisp September morning in 2023, exactly 10 years and 2 months after Alex and Miranda Stevens had vanished, David was flying his drone over a remote section of forest when he spotted something that didn't belong. At first, I thought it was just unusual rock formations. David later told investigators. But when I zoomed in with the camera, I could see geometric patterns that were clearly man-made. The drone's high-resolution camera revealed what appeared to be a small structure partially hidden beneath a decade of forest growth. Fallen trees and dense undergrowth had concealed it from ground-level searches, but from above, the outline was unmistakable. David immediately contacted the Park Service and provided GPS coordinates: 44.1847 degrees north, 74.2356 degrees west, approximately 8 miles northeast of the Pine Creek campsite where the Stevens couple had last been seen. Ranger Elizabeth Torres, who had joined the Park Service 5 years after the original disappearance, coordinated with the state police to investigate David's discovery. The location was in an area that had been searched in 2013, but the structure would have been much less visible then, before years of forest growth had made the patterns more apparent from above. "We need to approach this carefully," Detective Sarah Kim, who had taken over cold cases, told the assembled team. "If this is related to the Stevens case, it could be our first real lead in 10 years. The hike to reach the coordinates required bushwhacking through thick forest and climbing over fallen trees. When the team finally reached the location, they found something that none of them had expected: a carefully constructed shelter built into a natural depression between two large boulders, camouflaged so effectively that it was nearly invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. But it wasn't the shelter itself that shocked the investigators. It was what they found inside that would reopen the Stevens case and reveal a truth far more disturbing than anyone had imagined. The camouflage shelter was more sophisticated than anything the search team had expected to find in the remote Adirondack wilderness. Built into a natural rock formation and covered with years of accumulated forest debris, it had remained invisible to ground searches, but was clearly constructed by someone with advanced survival skills. "This isn't some hiker's emergency shelter," observed Detective Kim as she photographed the entrance. "This was built for long-term habitation." Inside, the shelter revealed a disturbing level of organization. The space was roughly 12 by 8 feet, with a low ceiling that required crawling to navigate. But someone had spent considerable time making it livable. Sleeping areas lined with pine boughs, a ventilation system using natural rock gaps, and storage areas carved into the earthen walls. Most shocking of all were the personal belongings found carefully arranged throughout the space: Alex Stevens' hiking boots, Miranda's distinctive red backpack, camping gear that matched the inventory from their missing supplies, and most disturbing, what appeared to be a makeshift journal written on bark and cloth scraps. "Look at this," Ranger Torres called from the back of the shelter. She had found a collection of items that didn't belong to the Stevens couple: military-style rations with expiration dates spanning several years, hunting knives, and camping equipment from different eras, suggesting the shelter had been used by multiple people over time. Detective Kim carefully extracted the improvised journal, which appeared to contain entries written in different handwriting. The first entries were clearly Miranda's, describing their capture and imprisonment by someone who had been living in the forest for years. "July 5th, day 2. He says his name is Thomas. Been living out here since 2009. Says he can't go back to civilization. Alex tried to escape yesterday, but Thomas has traps everywhere. He's not violent, but he's desperate. Says he needs us to stay, that he's been alone too long." The journal entries that followed painted a portrait not of a violent criminal, but of a deeply damaged man who had removed himself from the world and built a new one in its place, a world of survival, control, and isolation. "July 7th, day 4. He's not letting us leave. He says the world outside is worse, that he's protecting us from it. I don't know if he really believes that, or if it's something he tells himself to justify this." "July 12th, day 9. Thomas is teaching us to identify edible plants. Says winter here is brutal, and we need to learn to survive. Alex keeps trying to convince him to let us go, but Thomas panics whenever we talk about leaving. I think he genuinely believes he's helping us. It's terrifying." The entries continued, documenting a disturbing captivity that blurred the lines between imprisonment and forced adaptation. Thomas created what he seemed to view as a family in the woods, with himself as a reluctant patriarch. "August 5th. We've been here over a month. I know the sun patterns now. I know which mushrooms are safe. I never wanted this knowledge. I want a hot shower in my own bed and Miranda Lambert playing on my Bluetooth speaker. I want to go home. September 3rd, Thomas has stopped talking about us leaving. He refers to us as we now, like this is permanent. Alex and I pretend to go along with it. We smile when he shows us how to carve snowshoes. But at night, we whisper escape plans. November 11th, first snow. It's quiet in a way that makes your bones ache. Alex wants to try leaving again in spring. I don't know if we'll make it. I don't even know if I want to try. The final entry in Miranda's handwriting was dated December 14th, 2013. December 14th. Thomas told us about his time in Afghanistan, about the day his whole squad died, about the guilt that followed him into these trees. I don't know what to do with that. I'm scared. For him. For us. After that, the journal shifted. The handwriting changed. Looser, shakier. It was Alex now. January 2nd, 2014. Miranda's not writing anymore. Says it makes things feel too real. She's not doing well. We both have chills. We're coughing. No meds. Thomas thinks it's just the cold air. February 10th, 2014. We survived. Barely. We rationed everything. Thomas made us chew pine bark. Miranda is getting better. I think. March 3rd, 2015. Another year. Still here. Still Thomas. Still us. The outside world is starting to feel like a dream I once had. Jennifer, if you're still looking, I'm sorry. April 17th, 2016. Miranda found a bird nest today. She cried when the eggs hatched. First time I've seen her smile in weeks. This place, it changes you. Or maybe it reveals you. Then, the breaking point. March 20th, 2017. Miranda died yesterday. Pneumonia. We tried everything. Thomas is devastated. I buried her beneath the tall pine. Marked it with stones. I can't stop shaking. March 22nd, 2017. Thomas hasn't spoken since Miranda died. Just sits by the stream where we used to wash our clothes. I tried leaving. Got lost. Came back. I hate this place. But I don't know where else to go. April 10th, 2017. I read through Miranda's part of the journal today. Her handwriting is so steady. Mine looks like a stranger wrote it. August 1st, 2018. Thomas caught me trying to hang myself from a tree. He didn't yell. He cried. Told me I wasn't allowed to die. Said Miranda wouldn't want that. I miss her every day. January 5th, 2019. 6 years. This forest is my world now. I can track rabbits. I can find water in tree moss. I forget what car horns sound like. September 15th, 2019. Thomas died in his sleep last night. I wrapped him in his tarp. Buried him near the ridge. I lit a fire. Sat with it until morning. I've never been more alone. September 18th, 2019. I packed what I could. I think I remember the way. If someone finds this, I'm trying. Miranda wanted me to try. If I don't make it, bury this with her. That was the last journal entry. Detective Kim closed the cloth-bound pages slowly, as if setting down a sacred relic. He tried, she whispered. He really did. The implications were clear. Alex Stevens had survived for over 6 years in the wilderness, first with Miranda and Thomas, then alone. His body had never been found. But someone had recently returned to that shelter. Someone had left modern food wrappers, adjusted the pine bedding, built a fire pit with new stones. Either Alex Stevens had come back, or someone else had taken his place. The discovery of fresh food wrappers inside the shelter reignited the investigation. Detective Kim ordered a team to set up motion-trigger cameras and began covert surveillance from a distance. 3 nights later, just after midnight, a figure approached the shelter. Thin, hunched, and wrapped in mismatched layers of cloth and leather, he moved like an animal. Slow, quiet, hyper-aware of his surroundings. At first glance, he could have been mistaken for a drifter. But when Kim examined the footage and matched facial features with the original case file, she knew. It's Alex Stevens, she whispered. The man who had vanished a decade ago had survived. Kim made the call to approach him directly, carefully, with no weapons drawn. She walked alone into the clearing as the man crouched near a fire pit, tending a small flame. Alex, she called softly. My name is Detective Sarah Kim. I work for the New York State Police. You've been missing for 10 years. The man looked up, startled. He didn't run, but his eyes, they were wild, deep-set, full of pain and something primal. He said nothing for a long time, then finally, you shouldn't be here. Kim took a few slow steps closer. Your sister's been looking for you. Your friends. Your parents. They never gave up. Alex shook his head. This is home now. Miranda's buried up the ridge. Thomas is gone. I'm all that's left, and I'm not who I was. His voice cracked as he spoke, not from emotion, but from lack of use. Kim sat on a rock, staying low, non-threatening. You don't have to come back all at once, but people need to know you're alive. They need closure. Alex let out a bitter laugh. Closure. There's no such thing as closure. There's only survival. What followed was a delicate negotiation. Kim and her team didn't attempt to detain him. They brought food, clean water, medical supplies. Gradually, Alex allowed brief conversations, guarded, fragmented, but lucid. Over the next week, Kim learned the truth. Alex had made it within 5 miles of highway in 2019 before a massive panic attack drove him back into the woods. Noise, cars, people, it had overwhelmed him. It's not just trauma, he explained. It's adaptation. The forest didn't just keep me alive. It rewired me. I can't live out there anymore. The case had now become something unprecedented. A missing person wasn't just alive. He was choosing to stay missing. Dr. Patricia Martinez, a clinical psychologist who specialized in extreme isolation and survival psychology, was brought in to assess Alex's mental state. Her report was clear. Alex Stevens was not psychotic, not a danger to others, and not legally incapacitated. But he had undergone radical psychological adaptation that made reintegration into normal society traumatic. He's like someone who's been living on Mars, Dr. Martinez explained. He doesn't need to be locked up, but forcing him back into society might destroy what little stability he has left. Kim arranged a controlled visit with Alex's sister, Jennifer. She was escorted to the forest under ranger supervision and allowed to see Alex for the first time in a decade. The reunion was quiet, emotional, but complicated. Jennifer hugged her brother. He let her, but his arms hung limp at first, unsure of the gesture. After a long moment, he hugged her back. I thought this would be the end of the nightmare, Jennifer said through tears. But you're still living it, aren't you? Alex replied, the man you remember died out here. I'm what came after. He told her about Miranda, her final days, her grave, her laughter in the early months. He spoke of Thomas, the guilt, the makeshift family they'd become. Jennifer listened, broken but grateful. The state offered to relocate Alex, provide therapy, housing, reintegration support. He refused. Instead, a compromise was reached. A small legal shelter would be constructed for him, closer to a ranger station. He would have scheduled wellness checks, supplies, and the ability to opt in for services if he ever changed his mind. In exchange, he would stay off protected lands and not interfere with other hikers. It was not a return to society. It was an agreement with it. 5 years after Alex Stevens was found alive in the Adirondacks, his story had become a legend, not just in upstate New York, but across the country. He still lived in the woods, in a legally designated shelter built at the edge of a state-monitored buffer zone. Park rangers checked in with him monthly. He had access to food, water, and medical care. He never asked for anything more. Jennifer visited him a few times a year. Their conversations grew easier with time, though still filled with pauses and silence. He talked about Miranda a lot, she said in an interview with the Times-Union. Not like someone mourning a wife, more like someone still living with her, in his memories in the trees, in the wind. Her grave was marked by a ring of stones beneath a towering pine tree, about a mile from Alex's cabin. Every 4th of July, Alex left a handful of wildflowers there. I see her in the creek, he told Jennifer once. In the bird song. Sometimes in my dreams. I think she forgave me. Alex had written his story. with the help of a wilderness therapist and trauma researcher, in a memoir titled 10 Years Gone. The book became a bestseller, raw, unfiltered, equal parts survival guide and emotional confessional. Proceeds from the book went to support PTSD treatment for veterans and search and rescue programs for families of the missing. Thomas Mitchell's remains were eventually identified and buried with full military honors. Alex attended the quiet service, standing silently in the back, a hood over his head. When asked to speak, he simply said, "He saved my life. Then he took a hostage. Then he gave it back." Alex never fully returned to the world, but in his own way, he found peace. Detective Kim kept a photo on her office wall. Two versions of Alex Stevens side by side. One, from 2013, a clean-shaven man in hiking gear, smiling with Miranda. The other, from 2024, hollow-cheeked, eyes like wild granite, sitting barefoot on a cabin step with a fox nearby. "They're the same man," she often told cadets, "just shaped by different worlds." The Pine Creek Trail was permanently closed to overnight campers and reclassified as a memorial trail. At the trailhead, a plaque reads, "For those who ventured into the unknown and found more than they sought, may they find peace wherever their journey led them." Every 4th of July, hikers report seeing a lone man walking the path at dawn, always barefoot, always with wildflowers in hand. Some believe he's a myth. Others know his name is Alex Stevens, and he kept his promise to Miranda, not just to remember how she died, but to live on in the place where she once found beauty, even in captivity, even in the silence of the trees. Now that the shelter's been found, we have to ask, what were Alex and Miranda running from? Or worse, what found them first? Drop your theory in the comments. Do you think they built that shelter themselves? Was it a survival attempt? A trap? Something else entirely? If this story gave you chills, hit like, subscribe to Gone Cold, and share with someone who never stops asking, but what if? Because here, the forgotten are never truly gone, not until their story is told.